we are filming it for those parents that aren't able to be here. I will hand over to Jim. He is a representative at Fairthorne Manor YMCA, and he is going to give us a little bit more of an idea, and you an idea of what the trip will look like, what the activities will look like, so that we can collectively communicate to the girls and reassure them and get them encouraged and to be excited for the trip and things ahead of half term. Because I'm sure there must have been lots of questions at home, because we've had lots of questions. Over to you, Jim. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. And apologies for cutting it a little bit fine. The traffic wasn't very good on the A3 this morning. So I'm one of the, I'm actually the director at Fairthorne Manor. And I've been there for about 20 years, so any questions you've got, I'm sure I can answer in some form or fashion. Yes, please, clicker. So I thought I'd give you a little bit of background, a little bit of history of Fairthorne Manor. We are located between Southampton and Portsmouth. It looks very rural and it feels very rural when you're there, which I think is a real positive and a benefit of the trip. But actually we're about 3 miles from the M27. This is a very old photo. So this is taken, I'm not really sure when it was taken. I can't actually quite narrow it down to the year, but effectively the house itself was built in 1854. This was a Victorian house. So when the Victorians built lots of railways out of London, and they built some very grand houses out in the counties. Fairthorne Manor was one of them. So Fairthorne was a private house for many, many years, up until Second World War. In the Second World War, it was an emergency mapping centre for the D-Day landings. You see the river in the background there, that's the River Hamble. So that effectively leads all the way down past Swan at Campbell and into Southampton Water. It's about 6 mile paddle, it's a long way, you wouldn't want to paddle it. And as you can see, the house here in the foreground, after the Second World War, and in the actual rooms in the house, some of them are named Churchill, Eisenhower, because they've all been there at one time. So there's loads and loads of history, which I think, when people on school trips, they probably don't appreciate particularly. And then after the war, someone bought it, chopped down lots of trees, sold them off for logging, and YMCA bought it in 1947. Anyone want to guess how much it cost them? £8,500. And it's 95 acres, and this is kind of one corner patch of it. As you can imagine, that's a private house. You're looking all the way down the river of your manor. Of course, now all these trees and things are growing up here, so it looks quite different. The picture down there on the right-hand side at the bottom, again, is taken on the site. Effectively, when the YMCA bought it, the YMCA had 2 national centres in the country, this one and the one in Lakeside, up in the Lake District. And they started to teach young men from Southampton how to sail. That's how it all kind of started. Men that were going to sail on merchant ships or big yachts and things. And then it kind of grew over the years to teach local school children, particularly water-based activities, and then it kind of grew into what it is today. So we get about 35,000 visitors a year on the site, of which about 100 are school trips like this. Just to give you a bit of an idea of kind of overview, that picture we were just looking at was kind of that way, down there. So the rest of the Fairthorne kind of land is, obviously the river comes along here, and this funny sort of shape here is the land. So 95 acres in total. This was obviously taken in the summer because there's lots of tents and things pitched here. So as well as 2 accommodation blocks, obviously one of which we'll talk about in a second, which your children will stay in. We've got a couple, so there's the one they're staying is orientate myself. It's kind of just up here, and there's another one here. And obviously we have tented groups in the summer as well. So on site, the site itself is kind of a mixture of woodland and parkland. And all the activities are dotted around on the site. So everything is there. You don't have to travel off site, which is a real bonus about the site itself. As you can see, we've got a nursery on site. It's a 128 place nursery. Schools and trips, residentials and day trips. And we run lots of school holiday programs as well. So in the summer holidays, we have 500 children a day there. So we're kind of used to dealing with lots of children, keeping them very entertained, making them very tired. I know they're coming for a night, but I'm sure they'll be tired and filthy and hungry by the time they come home, which is all of what the trip's all about. This one here, this is our public campsite, which obviously is only open for about 3 or 4 months of the year. So, your group is staying in Heald House, over here on the right hand side, which is a 90-bed accommodation. So it has a combination of 2, 3, 4 and 6-bedded rooms. You're the only group that are staying in it, so you don't have to share it or anything at all. It says here each bedroom has a sink in, so make sure they clean their teeth before they go to bed. And there's obviously a couple of toilet and shower facilities on each floor. So effectively on 3 floors, and really it's up to the school how they kind of divide you up and which rooms and things. But you've got plenty of space. I think you've got about 50 of you in total, and there's 90 beds, so you can kind of spread out a little bit. So from an entry and exit point, there are 3 entrances and exits. There's that one at the front side there, and there's one on the left and there's one on the right as well. Obviously they kind of double up as fire escapes and things. And again, it's up to you, to the school, which entrances you use and things. You can use all of them, you can use just the front door, it's entirely up to you. There's internal staircases and things as well. Actually, if we pop onto the next slide, because there's some pictures of it inside. So just took a picture of the coded doors and things there, because there's an external door with a code on, and there's an internal door with a code on, because you can imagine that sometimes we split this accommodation up if we've got different sizes of schools and groups. So these are generally the children's rooms, which are rooms of 6, but the kind of combination of rooms is 2s and 3s and things as well. So again, depending on how the school decide to divide them up. So all the rooms are kind of around on the edge of the building, and in the middle we've got this kind of central gathering area where again different people use it for different things. Quite often put the programme up on there, or what time you got to get to bed, or what time dinner is, or what's for dinner, all those sorts of things. Very importantly is the fridge and a kettle for the teachers to have their beverages and settle down. There's a bit of a floor plan, so you can get an idea. Ground floor, middle floor, top floor, all very similar, it's just on the bottom floor the configuration is slightly different. So what we asked in your kit list, which there is a slide on at the end, is to bring a single sheet and a sleeping bag and a pillow, just to make them kind of as comfortable as they possibly can. So what happens when you arrive? So generally speaking, you're probably leaving here 9ish, something like that. So you arrive to us about 11 o'clock. Once you get off the bus, the children will go straight into the accommodation, and obviously the rooms will be allocated in advance so they can settle into their accommodation. They'll meet their host. So their host is kind of the person that looks after them while they're there. So they'll eat with them, they'll do their evening activity with them, and they're the kind of link between the centre and the group. There's a picture of Yaz, she's one of our hosts, and the hosts kind of double up as instructors as well. But again, I think with Fairthorne, we talk about Fairthorne as being a place of first for many people, many children. So we have a nursery on site, so it's the first time a lot of children walk, it's the first time they talk, or they feed themselves, or they spend the night away from home, in this particular case, or they'll try something different. School trips, of course, are very much about the activities that they can do and the experience they get out of that. They might be trying something different for the first time. but it's also about independence, I think. And it's kind of one of the, I think everyone remembers their first school trip. I certainly do. I came to London. We went to the Houses of Parliament, and I stayed in Baker House, the scouting place in the middle of London. I remember it very vividly, and in those days, of course, you could go into the Houses of Parliament, touch the mace and everything. It's a long time ago. But we appreciate that, although we might be having 100 schools every year that come to us, for every child is generally their first school trip, and we need to make it special. We need to look after them. So that is a real aim of ours. So once they're settled into their accommodation, we take them on a site tour. We don't do the whole 95 acres, because that will take a couple of hours in itself. But what we do is walk around so they get an idea of where the dining hall is, where the activities are, where to go if there is a fire and they're in a particular building, where the muster point is, those sorts of things. So they just get a general sense of where things are, but it kind of excites them and razzes them up a little bit as well. And of course they get to kind of see our staff that are walking around and to meet their instructor and their host and talk to them. From a point of view of the accommodation, of course what we do before they sleep for their night with us, we'll talk them through what is to happen in the event of a fire and where to meet. From a point of view of on-site, we have a duty manager that's on site from 7:30 in the morning to 10 o'clock at night. When they go home at 10 o'clock at night, they hand over to someone who lives on site. He is effectively like our warden, so if there is any emergencies or anything in the evening, he will deal with them. But there's kind of lots of fail-safe systems in there, so if, for example, the fire alarm goes off, it texts me, it texts two of our other senior managers at home, so we kind of know what's going on. From a point of view of kind of accessing the site, we won't go back to the slide, but on our main drive there is like a reception area, so everyone that comes in a bit like you has to sign in here. We have an AMPR system, we have CCTV systems. When reception closes, in the evening, basically the gates are locked. So the gates are locked, no one can come in. There's someone who is kind of on overnight duty. So again, if there is a real emergency, they can unlock the gates so people can access the site. So this here is a bit of an example of how the stay is built, in effect. So this is sent to the school in advance, so they know what is happening. You'll notice there are 4 activities here. Every child will do the same activities, just not necessarily at the same time, because obviously they kind of rotate around them. So you'll notice this is the kind of first day. You arrive, you have a walk round, and they eat something. We'll go on to catering in a second, and then also they're into their activities. So each activity is 90 minutes long, and we roughly break the group down into groups of 12. I think it's 45 of you, so 12s and 11s. And each of those activity groups has one of your teachers. So you bring 5 teachers, I think. So the teacher is there really from a kind of the pastoral side of things, really, and behavioural side of things, and obviously encouraging the children. Our staff are there to deliver the activity safely and obviously make sure the children get the most out of the activity. Also have a little break between sessions, so for 2 reasons really. One is if they need to loo or anything, or drink, or those sorts of things. And the other one is because the site is so big, you need to get them from place to place. So there is gathering points on the site that we meet, and the instructors will come and collect them from that point and then take them to the activity. Otherwise groups might end up just rotating around and not find anything because it's such a big place. So this is kind of, as you can see, this is group 5. We have 4 groups. So they'll all end up doing the same thing at the same time. So the 4 activities, firelighting, low ropes, clanking and archery. So firelighting, as it sounds like, this is about teaching the children about the fire triangle. and they use, obviously we have lots of wood and twigs and everything else. It's about ensuring things are dry. They have a little fire stick they use, I think with matches or anything, a bit of steel that they're using. We make it a bit simpler for them with cotton wool and so if all the clothes come back smelling of smoke, there is a in the office a smell of smoke because the instructors usually come in with it on. There's load ropes, which is an activity whereby you imagine there's lots of trees, and between the trees there are ropes attached to platforms. And the idea is that you have to get around the activity as a team, kind of supporting yourself. There's a lot of spotting, so standing there supporting your friends. All the children wear a helmet. When I say low ropes, it is about this low on the ground. So the helmet is really just for for safety reasons. Kayaking, which is on the river, which I've got a nice picture of the river in a second. So kayaking is on, they're what they call sit-on top kayaks. They're not kayaks that you're kind of sat inside, they're not enclosed, you'll see in a second, they're sat on. The reason for that is, if you fall off it, there's no entrapment or anything, you literally just fall into the water. We ask the school if there are any non-swimmers or not confident swimmers in advance, because we have different kind of buoyancy aids depending on the child. So most of them are quite happy with standard buoyancy aid. There are others that we put actual life jackets on. Main difference with life jacket, buoyancy aid is life jacket is thicker and it has a big collar around it. It just keeps your head out of the water. On the water activities, the ratios are 8 to 1. So it's not a 12 to 1, which is what we would do for the other sessions, but it's an 8 to 1, a minimum of 2. So if there is a group of 11 children, for example, we'd have 2 instructors. The teachers are more than welcome to come on kayaking. Right? Or they can take pictures or whatever, but it's great fun. Archery, actually we have, archery is generally inside, although we're building at the moment an outdoor range because we've got such demand for the hall. But again, these are building on new skills, communication, water confidence, kind of personal challenge really on archery. But again, even on archery, you need a certain amount of strength to pull a bow back. But if there are some children that don't have huge amounts of strength, we have some tabletop ones as well, so you don't have to hold it and pull it, you can just pull it. So from an instruction point of view, and from our instructors' point of view, our instructors, we have like a core permanent team that are here all year, and have been doing it for a number of years, and then we have a seasonal team that actually started about a week ago. In fact, no, what day is today? Thursday, Monday they started. So they are, the vast majority of them are returning staff, which is great for us because they know our expectations and our standards. But we have them in literally a month before people start to arrive because we want to make sure there's no skill fade. We'll update them on safeguarding training, we'll update their first aid, all those kinds of things. It's quite a strict sort of regime with instructors in that, because once you're trained, you're then observed so many times across the year as well. If for any reason you fail observation or something, then you're off sessions and you have to be passed to re-observe things. When it comes to some of the technical stuff like kayaking, for example, we have an external qualified trainer that comes in and trains them and assesses them. So some things are internally trained and assessed, others are externally trained and assessed. The external stuff is water and height, basically. So this time of year, as well as training, is checking kit, washing stuff, fixing stuff, all that kind of thing. All staff are first aid trained, so the activity delivery staff, as well as some other kind of office staff as well. And at every activity instructor, you'll see them walking around, have a red bag, first aid kit. We have 3 defibrillators on site, which fortunately we've never had to use, but they're there just in case. And we are a Hampshire County Council outdoor approved centre as well. So I would say probably 80% of our schools are from Hampshire and West Sussex who share a kind of outdoor governance point of view. Effectively, if a school comes to a local authority, a school comes to a centre, there has to be an approved centre, of which we are one of those. This is what you want to see, pretty pictures. These are the kayaks I was talking about. So these are the kind of sit-on ones. You get the idea. Your bum goes there. Your feet go up this end. We have some double ones of these as well. So again, if there are children that want a bit more support, a teacher can go in with them, or another pupil can go in with them as well. This is a firelighting session. So it's kind of in a designated area. There's some seating and things that they can sit around on. This is obviously archery inside our sports hall. And this is the River Hamble. This is a little creek that's kind of around the corner from our boat shed. So it's on that kind of map. This is actually our lake picture here. These kayaks are used on this river. The River Hamble is tidal. We have about a 4 or 5 hour window every day to use it. Very fortunate because it has 2 high tides, or double, they call it a double high tide. So effectively the water comes in, as high as point, goes out a little bit, about half a metre, then comes back in again. So it kind of lengthens the time we've got to do it. That, for you geographers, that's because the Isle of Wight, apparently, kind of washes in and washes back. Washes in the Isle of Wight, pushes it back in again. But when it goes out, it's about that big. So there's a real tidal range goes from that to 3 metres. Very, very quickly as well. Food. So, this is our dining hall, it's called the Daffodil Room. So this, it's not the best picture, the room is about 3 times the size of that. It's probably kind of 3 times the size of this room. So it seats about 250 people. And breakfast and dinner is served in here, and lunch is a packed lunch which can be eaten in here or can be eaten outside. If it's nice and sunny outside, they can go out and enjoy. There's plenty of shelter and stuff outside. So all the meals are cooked on site. So we have an in-house catering team that cook for the schools that are staying, the nursery, and we have 4 other nurseries dotted around Hampshire. So they're at times in the summer producing 600 dinners, something like that. But we're very lucky. Our executive chef, he joined us about 2 weeks after COVID started, bless him, and he came from a very nice hotel. So the standards have gone up. We'll see the menu. I'm not sure if he's got brownies on your today, but his brownies are absolutely wonderful. So, and he's very good at hiding vegetables, stuff, in his meals. So we have obviously the ability to cater for any dietary requirements, and part of the kind of pre-visit stuff is letting us know if there are any dietary requirements. The way that that's kind of delivered is that groups would sit in their kind of activity group. So if there's 12 children in a group, they'll sit on one of these kind of tables here, the 12 of them with a teacher. They'll come up to the servery and we'll say, right, who's celiac, who's vegetarian? And they go to the front of the queue, and the food is kind of, because we know in advance who's got any particular dietary requirements, and the food are labelled. So we're making sure we're giving the right food to the right children. There it says it on the next slide. There is a salad bar at the end, which the teachers love. The children, the take-up's not quite so high, but it's there. I'm just trying to encourage them to think about the whole picture rather than just the activities. But of course, they're away from home for a night. So, So this just gives you an idea generally. I think you're on a Tuesday and a Wednesday. So in advance, we ask the school if there's a basic kind of choice here on the lunch, so we make sure that children get what they want. When it says lightly spiced, peri-peri chicken is very lightly spiced. It'll be very tasty, but it won't be raging hot or anything like that at all. There's always a plant-based version. There's always pudding. Breakfast is, there's as much juice, yogurt, fruit, cereal as they can eat, and then so there's waffles if they want them as well. I think it says, yeah, salad bar available every dinner down there. So what to bring? So you'd be amazed, but I'm sure you're not amazed about how much stuff people bring for one night stay. You see them getting off the bus with cases this high. What I would say is don't really send them with anything new that you ever want to see again in the same kind of condition. Stuff that's old, stuff that's comfortable is the best for them, and nothing that's too precious. Having said that, you have a Tuesday night, you have an evening activity as well. In your case, it's a campfire. So again, just make sure they've got something comfortable kind of to wear. The campfire is, we have a great big kind of natural amphitheatre. It's got dug into the corner of the site. Apparently it was dug out originally for a swimming pool. Never quite made it as a swimming pool. But it's this huge amphitheatre which we can see 1,000 people around. There is a fire at the bottom, which is all led by our instructors. It's not really about the fire, it's more about the singing and the dancing and the movement. So, again, I apologise now if they come back singing particular songs. But they'll be encouraged, really, to kind of join in and get involved. I'm sure you would be sent this in advance, but this just gives you an idea of what to put them in. Obviously, thinking about it, depending on what the weather's looking like, if it's looking like this, everyone says, so would you carry on? It's like, yep, it's an outdoor centre. Obviously, one of the activities is indoors. I mean, if it's absolutely thunder and lightning and, that kind of thing, we have risk assessments for every activity that say, if the wind is over this speed, you can't go in the woods, or you can't go in the water, or you can't climb, or things like that. But it's relatively rare. Yeah, so lots of old stuff, lots of stuff to keep warm. If the weather's looking great, sun hat. If it's not looking so great, waterproof trousers and tops and things. That's talking here about wellies and Crocs and flip-flops and sandals. They're not great because if you haven't got a back to them, they're easy to fall off, and if you get water in a welly, you'll end up with one welly coming home instead of two. We find lots of wellies every single year, and lots of socks. So yeah, really just, it's for guidance, it's common sense really about how much you send. When my son came on a trip many years ago, my wife put them in bags like Monday, next one Tuesday. I think they all came back unopened. I suspect, and I'm not sure his toothbrush is very wet either, but this is the joy of the trip. It's the independence that I'll get from doing those sorts of things. Not having someone to tell them to put their hair up or clean their teeth. Sorry, that was a bit of a whistle-stop tour, but hopefully that's given you a bit of an idea of what we've got and what we do generally. The YMCA is called YMCA Fairthorne Manor. The YMCA is the oldest youth charity in the world. So it was created in London actually in 1844, and it's now in 120 countries. So in England there's about 100 YMCAs. Some are 2 people, some are bigger. We're in the top kind of 10 sized groups. But the YMCA nationally is, in this country particularly, supports homelessness. That's its big kind of reason for being. And ourselves, Fairthorne Manor is part of the Fairthorne Group, which covers Hampshire and the Isle of Wight, so we have 3 supported housing centres effectively for young people that would be on the street if we didn't support them. One in Basingstoke, one in Southampton, and one on the Isle of Wight, which is for single mothers and their babies. So it's all kind of part of one big community charity, really supporting young people and families in different ways. Obviously your trip is different to those kinds of people that we're supporting, but it's all what you're paying to come on the trip is supporting all of that stuff. You shouldn't forget that, because that's really important. So.
Thank you, Jim.
That's all right.
One thing I wanted to say before any questions we might have. We've got sort of 5 minutes. Sorry, we can catch you at the end if you want to catch us directly. In terms of staffing, the staff that will definitely be going on the trip will be Mrs. Kirby, myself, and Miss Bailey. Mrs. Kirby's done many trips before. Miss Bailey and I went last year. They're in perfectly good hands. There will be other staff members. We've all got experience in different ways. I have 3.5 years of boarding house experience in prep boarding school, so 1 night away is going to be a dream. Absolutely no problem. You know, between us, it'll be absolutely fine, and we'll look after the girls. And in terms of the other thing was medication. Any medication, as usual, will come straight to us. And Miss Bailey is a bit of a queen in that respect, so she makes sure that she goes around and does the medication at night and things like that. So are there any pressing questions right now that you might have? Ooh. If you think of any.
We have one other school staying there at the same time. It happens to be an all-girls school from London. It's London week. But they're in the other accommodation block. But obviously the girls will see them as they're going around. But they're all week, so they're dotted around all over the place.
And we stayed in the Heald House last year, so we know, it was exactly the same one as last year, so we sort of know exactly where it is in relation to everything. So
some groups prefer Heald because it's got that space in the middle between all the bedrooms, whereas the other accommodation block doesn't. So you can't kind of gather them all in one place. So some people prefer.
Just on the accommodation, and deciding who's where with who, is the school doing that? Or
so what we'll do is beforehand, we will ask the girls to write down 3 or 4 names of girls that they'd like to be with, and then we will allocate accordingly. Obviously, we can't put them with everybody they want to be with, but they will be with at least one person that they put down. And we obviously will take into account who we think will be, we know them well enough now to know what. But the thing is actually, even after 2 activities, they will be so tired, and the excitement of just being away, and the campfire is amazing. Last year we had girls getting up and singing, leading other schools, it was fantastic. I mean, the excitement is crazy, so hopefully it will be let's go straight to sleep. Probably not.
You wish.
Yeah.
Are the girls allowed mobile phones with them?
No mobile phones. We kind of ask no sort of watches, things like that, mobile phones, because we kind of want it to be an experience where they are away from home and they kind of have that independence, and I think they will want to call mummy and sort of say goodnight, and actually that's not fair, everyone does it and others can't, so we encourage that we just kind of immerse ourselves in it. And obviously any issues or whatever, we have all of that, and we can get in touch with you directly.
Can I also encourage no air tags? We'll let you know.
That's interesting. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, of course you can.
Can I, unless there's any questions, I'm going to jump in. I'm doing something I haven't done before in this tour this year, which is I'm trying to kind of slightly do a talk to all of you very briefly, rather than the lots of individual conversations I tend to have about this trip. So I think it's really interesting what Jim's just saying about this being first, and for a lot of you it will also be the first time that your daughter has gone away. For some of you, the first time that sorry, my voice is still not better, that any of you will have had an experience of your child going away for a night. So it really is important that for you, that you model to your daughter, this is going to be fun, this is going to be okay, this is going to be great. Don't jump in about the bedroom situation. anyone can survive one night if they're not in a room with their best friend. And the more that you can encourage that and help them to be like, it's going to be fine, you're going to have fun. There is such a spectrum here. There will be some people who are like, why aren't we going for a week? And others who are thinking, oh my goodness, she's never done a sleepover, this is terrifying. So just to be mindful of the fact that there are lots of needs, and we are really experienced with doing this. And if you have a child who is anxious about any part of this trip, to begin now to scaffold slowly. So if she doesn't like doing sleepovers, maybe you could have a half sleepover where you pick her up at 9 and then pick her up at 10 and then, you know, whatever. Just gradually start to introduce it and just to be as calm as you can about it. And nearly always, it is fine and and they're not stressed and anxious when they go and have an amazing time. But if when you get closer, you really feel that a night away is too much for your child, let us know. And, you know, like I said, historically, pretty much all of them in the end have gone and had the best time. But, you know, if it is a problem, just let us know. Yeah. Hopefully that answers the questions I might do one-to-one. You know where I am if you need me.
Great.
Any other questions?
Good. Well, thank you very much, Jim, for
You're
coming,
welcome.
and thank you very much to all of you for coming. Have a lovely day.